Hey, 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 it's Whiskey Wednesdays. What's up, Dave?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. I know you haven't had a drop of whiskey leading up to today. Looking forward to it since last Wednesday, I'm sure.
Yeah, something like that.
Right, right. Well, let's talk about what we're going to talk about today.
Definitely. So we
So,
got, oh, I was gonna say we got of course Mixmaster Rob is gonna show us something good. I know for myself, I have an old fashioned tonight, so I've decided to mix it up a little bit and make something fancy, although I don't have the orange peel in it. But other than that, got myself an old fashioned. How about you? What are you drinking?
I am drinking a gift from a buddy of mine out at my condo, also a client, Weller Special Reserve, and actually haven't had it before. And so this will be interesting. Usually Karen sends me a little fun fact about Weller. So let's see if I have anything here.
While he's looking for that,
Um,
let's see what everyone
yeah,
else is doing.
yeah,
Who's having a whiskey with us this Wednesday? Go ahead and type in the chat box. So we got a lot of people piling in. Awesome to see all these familiar faces and some of the people who are in here repeatedly every Wednesday with us.
nice. Yeah, I don't see a fun fact. Maybe it'll come through as we're chatting. I'm sure it will. But Rob's always got the fun stuff, anyways. Doing the drink. Dave, you're on mute if you're talking.
I'm trying to
Um,
get Alana to get the kids out of the room. Sorry.
nice. I know. I was right before we went live. I had a 2-year-old stalker on my leg.
Yeah, I for I forgot to barricade the door. I'll be back in a second.
Nice. Um, so some of the stuff we'll talk about today. Well, of course, Rob is the Robs, as we call them. Rob from C2P is gonna share his cocktail today, whatever he has in store for us. Always looking forward to that. And then Rob from JL Smith Group is going to share an update on our virtual marketing, right? So our virtual seminars that we've been doing. I think we're up to 11 or 12 at JL Smith Group. So we'll share kind of results and what we've been doing there on a marketing front. And other than that, I know we're going to have a special guest, Don Chamberlain, that's going to be sharing some of the things he's been doing. He's been kind of like similar to my office, going crazy, doing a ton of virtual marketing, trying to crack the code in this virtual environment. So I'm excited to hear about Don's results. I know he did a taxes and retirement virtual seminar today, has a big estate planning one coming up in the next couple days. So looking forward to hearing about that. So Don will be joining us here in a bit. What else we got on the agenda today, Dave?
I was just going to say for Don, it's exciting between today's taxes and retirement and tomorrow's estate planning. He's got over 200 people registered. So, awesome opportunity with a couple hundred people registered for his virtual seminars. Um, we've also just got a bunch of updates, announcements, innovations, things that have happened, some good progress on the training front, some events we're going to be doing. We're going to be sharing some of the information there. And then hearing from everybody, we've got a couple comments flown in already. Bill Cole is also drinking an old fashioned with me. He's using Woodford. I'm drinking Jefferson Reserve. So cheers to that, Bill. And it was awesome having you and Luis in the bucket plan training last week. Fatty is drinking Knob Creek Single Barrel Reserve. And Richard James said, Dave, you did a great call today. You should share with everyone. So Richard, we actually have a little bit of that on the agenda. I did a mentoring call. Richard's team booked it with me, and we started talking about the right fit call process. And so, yeah, Richard, he said the clients are the Facebook ads. I was thinking about sharing some of the stuff we spoke about on the right fit call and how that could help people, but I'm open to whatever the listeners want to hear. That's what we're all about. It's an opportunity for everyone to ask Jason and I and for us to collaborate. So
Yeah.
We'll
And
share it
I think
all.
I'll share a couple. I'll share a couple things that came out of our $100 million club meeting that we had this week, and really just the importance of shifting to cause more variety, to create more variety in your virtual sales appointments, your planning process as you're meeting with clients. So one of the lessons learned from one of the gentlemen at the $100 million club, also a lesson learned from Brian Bibbo, of doing a virtual meeting and in kind of how we're positioning the whiteboard videos. So we'll share that. The 1.0 training, man, that was freaking awesome. I had so much fun. We did our first virtual training. We had 99 people on there, one shy of 100. But that was pretty cool. I didn't realize we had that many on there until I saw the post or whatever. But I mean, I knew it was a lot. So those are some of the things that we'll talk about and share today. Dave, why don't you go ahead and talk about the right fit client calls? Because I think those are so important. I mean, that's one of the things we're measuring, as we've been talking about this whole thing about hunting in a virtual environment and, hunting for referrals and hunting for virtual seminar attendees, right? Those are early indicators to fill your 421. And our 421 is really, you got to get 4 phone calls in, which we call right fit client calls, to get 2 first appointments to get 1 committed client. And so those phone calls are so important, and having an agenda and a strategy of how you're going to conduct those calls. And so go ahead, Dave, share with them of what you've learned on doing these right fit client calls.
So one of the things Richard and I and his team were talking about today, I've been doing these right fit calls for almost a year now. And I found they're extremely important for twofold. I mean, the first thing is that if you don't have capacity, like my schedule is jam-packed. It's probably my biggest downfall of doing business because of all the C2P stuff I have. It's very hard to get a client appointment. And so if I do a webinar, it's very hard after that webinar to book an hour. We do 90-minute discovery meetings. And so these right fit calls, I mean, really the purpose was, number one, so you can get a lot more people in and on your schedule quicker. If your schedule is booked out weeks in advance, we all know the number one killer of a deal is time, right? So you want to keep momentum going, whether it was from a live workshop, whether today it's from a webinar. The quickest thing is to get these 20-minute right fit calls booked on your schedule. And then the second thing was to either qualify or disqualify the people if you wanted to work with them, right? Because you don't want to book a 90-minute meeting for somebody who comes into your office and has no money, because that could have been 90 minutes you could have done for something more productive. And so if you have capacity challenges, these right fit calls are a game changer. And in today's environment, what I was talking with Richard's team about is you got to know your audience, right? And how to structure the right fit calls the right way. And I recorded the call with Richard, and we're going to build some training around this for everyone. But let's say somebody comes in as a complete stranger. So like, I know they're doing a lot of like digital marketing where somebody requests a consultation. If they're coming in as a stranger, you need to really make the connection, build the relationship, and establish your credibility early on in that right fit call. So if somebody is coming in as a stranger, I generally position it as, coming into today, I'm sure you have a lot of questions about me, our firm, my expertise, how we work with clients, and maybe how we're a little bit different. And likewise, we don't work with just everybody, so I have a lot of questions for you as well. And at the end of today's meeting, we'll determine if there's going to be a good fit to move forward and schedule our next meeting where we'll invest about 90 minutes together to dive deeper. And what I then do is I say, so let me kind of share the 30,000-foot view of myself, our firm, and our background. And I share all about myself, my background, how we work with clients, and it's about 5 minutes. So think about it, that takes about 5 minutes of the fit call because you have to build some credibility in a relationship. And then how I transition is I say, now I'd love to learn a little bit about you. What motivated you to book this call today? You know, kind of if you had to outline your top 3 financial priorities, what would you say those would be? And what made you want to get on the call today? And I'll have them share with me what their top priorities are. And I'll say that makes a ton of sense. We hear that a lot. We actually specialize in working with people just like you. Tell me a little bit about the resources that you've accumulated and the planning you've done to this point to help achieve your goals and objectives that you have. And they'll tell me about anything that we've done. And then I'll close with getting them, if I want them, I'll close with saying, you know, something along the lines of, based on everything you shared with me, you absolutely are kind of an ideal client for our firm. And I feel like I can bring substantial value to your situation. Now, we have a 4-step process: discover, design, deliver, and dedicate. Our discover meeting is 90 minutes where I'm going to get an opportunity to learn a lot more about you, your goals, your objective, your family, the things that you've done already to this point. And so then I'll get into the pivot and converting them right to that first appointment. The other thing is if they've attended a webinar. So the first example is like the cold person that's an internet lead, or something like that, or maybe even a referral, I guess. The second one is where they've spent an hour with me on a webinar. Now, when they spend an hour with me on the webinar, they know about my background. They know about my expertise. They know about how our firm works with clients. So what I do off the webinar is I say, I
They even
appreciate
know
you.
your planning fee.
They even know how much
They
I
even know
cost.
your planning fee now. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
They do. So what I do in that scenario is I open differently. And I say, I'm really glad you took the initiative to book some time with me today. Obviously, there was something in the webinar that I spoke about that caught your interest. Would you mind sharing with me what might that be? And I get them talking about the webinar and what they learned and what their big, because that's what was their core interest. That's the hook that got them on the call with me. And then I share the same thing. I do the same follow-up and I say, that's great. You know, something we really specialize in, something I'm passionate about. Could you share with me, like, what would you say your top 1, 2, or 3 financial priorities are right now? And I'll have them do the priorities. Then I'll do, okay, well, tell me about the resources and the planning you've done thus far. I'll have them do that. And then because they came to a webinar, and as Jason joked, I sell the planning fee from the webinar. And I basically say, well, the next steps are, I would like to take you on as a client. We start with the financial planning. We'll send you over our financial planning agreement. As I mentioned on the webinar, 50% of that initial fee is due upfront. You'll sign the agreement, and let's go ahead and get our step 1, our discovery meeting booked right now. And of course, at the end of the fit call, we're always booking the next meeting, right? We're booking that step 1 meeting. But that's the big difference between a right fit call from a digital lead versus a right fit call from a webinar. And it's a big difference maker. And if they throw out the virtual thing, this is really, really important. I've been doing this for years, even before COVID, because as most people know, I live in Cleveland and I do business in California, is I share with them, you know, we do business virtually, and we do, and I used to share, I'm out in California every quarter. I'm more than happy to meet with you face to face, and we can schedule that the next time I'm out there. But if you're comfortable getting started virtually now, we can go ahead and get the ball rolling on a lot of the heavy lifting. And I think it's really important. Greg Hammer and myself were talking about this earlier, to do the same pivot today in this COVID environment. Greg shared on his fit call, he's saying, look, our office is open and we have all these standard operating procedures on safety and cleanliness and disinfecting the office. And here's all the things we do. We Lysol every 3 hours. We do this, we do that. No more than X amount of people are in. And if you're comfortable coming to the office, you can go ahead and do that. But if you'd prefer to get the ball rolling and get this process started virtually, we're more than happy to do that also. But here's what you'll find, whether it's today or whether it's 2 years from now, a lot of people will say, oh, you know what, I'm happy getting it started virtually. they're more comfortable than you realize, but you got to give them those two options. And when you do that,
Yeah.
it works fantastic.
You know, the point you just made too, Dave, about addressing your protocols in your office, if you're going to offer them a face-to-face, is really important. And we're in the process of updating our website even at the JL Smith Group to walk them through kind of the process and reinforce how we're having our office clean, what the protocol is, the masks, everything else, so people know what to expect. Because that's the first thing people do. They go to your website to figure out, and you want to make them feel comfortable about their safety and let them know up front of what that's going to look like if they do decide to come in and meet with you or choose to meet with you virtually. Super important.
Cool. Well, hey,
You know
Jason,
what,
why don't we
Dave,
take a quick pause and bring Mixmaster Rob on and see what he's got in store for us?
Yeah, absolutely. And then when we get back, I want to, you talked about the 4, which is, you know, you got to do 4 right fit client calls. I want to talk about the 2 and a couple things I learned from a couple advisors, Brian Bibbo and Brandon, out of InvestWise over the last few days. Yep. Hey, Rob.
Hey guys, how's it going? Fascinating
Doing
stuff.
good. Welcome.
Thank you. Today we're making the original cocktail, the Manhattan. It's right there with the old fashioned. First, I'm happy to say, Fadi, way to try the bourbon. I know you're a Scotch guy, but welcome to the club. Today we're going to do, this is 1776. It's a rye. Traditionally, a Manhattan is made with rye or bourbon, but the purists will say rye is the best way to go. Apparently, there's a couple theories on where the Manhattan was originally made. One is the Manhattan Club in Manhattan, made by Dr. Ian Marshall. Sorry, the second thing we're using is a sweet vermouth. If you guys can find a good quality sweet vermouth, I highly recommend it. It's a little bit better than your standard Martini and Rossi. Gives it a little more flavor. Anyways, there was a party that was being held by Lady Randolph Churchill, which is actually Winston Churchill's wife. 2 dashes of Angostura bitters, 1 dash of orange bitters. But apparently Lady Churchill was actually back in England, not in Manhattan, giving birth to the son of Winston. So the second theory is that it was made by a man named Black at the Hoffman Club, but the Manhattan Club will still say that they originated the recipe. So whatever your preference, it's still a fantastic drink. Again, we stir with ice because there's no fruit juice. Do that, and then I like to garnish. You can either do an orange peel or lemon peel. I like to do a black cherry. Just adds a little bit of depth, color. Anyways, cheers. Hope you guys are all doing well, and we're looking forward to seeing hopefully you guys in June for our virtual event for Mastermind. So, salute.
Nice. Thanks, Rob. I love those black cherries, man.
They're fantastic.
They're so tasty. Yeah.
They're worth it. All right, gang. Take care, and I'll see you next week.
Thanks, my
Rob.
friend.
Appreciate it.
No problem, guys.
All right.
You got one of those pretty photos of the finished product, Dave, that Rob does?
I do, but my screen is a little bit wonky right now. So there we go. Here it is.
Nice.
And there's the finished product. So we appreciate it, Rob.
Beautiful. And you know what, Dave? Like, you just brought up a good point. Think about, like, me, right? My sound was all messed up. I had to hang up and dial back in. Big freaking deal, right? I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying to the advisors. Dave just had a little hiccup for a moment. It's not a big deal. Don't be afraid of this technology, and don't be afraid of Dave's face. I am. Your face just went totally right as I was talking about. It went all, I don't know if it was my internet or what, but it was kind of scary. I might have a nightmare tonight. But those I just don't think the gist of it is just make light of it, laugh about it, right? Like have good spirits. Don't be making a big deal about it. Don't get nervous about it. Don't let them see you sweat. It's not a big deal. Everybody's going to experience it, and you're all going to fumble. Every one of you who aren't embracing technology yet, but just know that it's okay, right? Your clients are going to understand. Doesn't matter if you're doing the sales or financial planning process or whether you're doing marketing virtually, you're gonna have those things pop up, and people are just, they get it, right? I mean, just don't think you have to make it perfect is what yeah.
This week I had to do a whole step one first appointment discovery meeting with a guy who's 49 years old over at Facebook. So I mean, he's a tech savvy guy, but the whole meeting he couldn't get his camera working. So my camera was working, he could see me the whole time, but I couldn't see him. And we just rolled with it. And at the end of it, he committed to pay a planning fee and go through the process. And so just roll with it. Sometimes it happens,
Yeah.
you know?
No doubt about it. Yeah. And, talking about like the virtual sales, Dave, let's do that poll. I don't know if they're in order or what the deal is, if you can pick which one you do. But we have 3 polls that we wanted to do throughout this just to get some feedback from you guys on what you're doing. So here it is. There you go, Dave.
So the poll is, and you can see it on your screen, what would you rate your confidence level to conduct sales in a virtual environment? So the first option is, what does virtual mean? Probably not doing too great if that's your answer. The second is, I'm getting there, just not there yet. The third is, you're just about there and you're feeling confident. Or your fourth one is, you got this. Let's see where you're at. So far, 0% are what does virtual mean.
Let's get everybody to put it in. Yeah.
Yeah, we got only 50% have voted, so we got a lot of people on. Let's see those votes. Go ahead and check yours off. You can see the poll. You should be able to check off which one. Some people are saying it won't let you click anything. Don't know why it won't let you, but it should. So maybe you're only looking in maybe the bottom right. It should be across your screen if you actually open up and have the screen. So if you're just looking at the results, it doesn't allow you. But if you're able to see the whole quick poll in light blue, we've got about 60% that have figured out how to click it. So the other 40% haven't.
You know what, Dave? I'm one of the 40%. I'm clicking this thing. It's maybe organized. Okay, I read it. Yeah, I can't vote. All right.
You can't vote. You're a host. All right, we got 64%. That looks like it's as good as we're gonna get right now. So the results are 0%. What does virtual mean? 32%, they're getting there, just not there yet. And 45% just about there, feeling confident. 24%, they got this. So that's good to see. And then 33%, you have to exit full screen to vote, said Phil. Phil Putney said you got to exit full screen. Appreciate that little piece of advice on the user end, Phil. So if you exit the full screen, you're able to vote. So that's good. Oh, now they're coming in 78%. That got them. 80%. So Jason, can you see the results?
No.
No. All right. 33%, they're getting there. 38%, they're just about there. 40%, they're just about there. And 28%, they got this down.
So let's talk about this for a second, right? The sales in a virtual environment. I mean, we've created this whole virtual advisor program. Hopefully you guys are.
Patty just said, he said, I guess the 20% who can't vote must be the what does virtual mean?
Right, exactly. Nice. So that would have been me thinking I was in that category until I realized I couldn't vote. So let's talk about this for a moment. A couple things I learned from, again, going back to the 421. I mean, you got to drive the 421. It's all about the 421. Get 4 of those phone calls in, call them right fit client calls, whatever it is. You can get better and better at them, convert it to 2 first appointments. You're going to result in 1 committed client. So talking about those first appointments, operating the first appointments in the virtual environment, because the right fit client calls, you don't need to have those in the virtual environment. That's a phone call. But you need to have your first appointments virtual. You need them to see your screen. You need to see them, ideally. You need to let them see you. You need to let, right? You need to let them see your eyes hugging them, right? I mean, right now, and this is one of the little tips, right? Look directly into the camera, right? Don't look down at the screen as much as you can. Make sure you look up and look into the camera lens. But a couple of the things that I know I learned in the virtual, meetings, as I was talking to some advisors just this last week, one was, Brian Bibbo playing the money cycle whiteboard video in the first appointment to set up talking about the bucket plan philosophy as the solution. So adding that variety of the money cycle whiteboard video into the first appointment, so you actually see it sketching out and you hear an alternative voice, and it's just, it's great variety in that first meeting. So I thought that was a fantastic innovation to do. And Dave, why don't you talk to them about best practices of the best way to play that money cycle whiteboard video, or a couple options, of how to do it.
Yeah, so the best way to do it, like I can speak to Zoom or Ring Central Meeting. They're essentially the same thing. But when you go to share your screen, there's an option in the bottom left corner that says something along the lines of include the sound or video sound in the sharing. And so when you click that, what it does is it will not only share the video on your computer screen, but it will also play the audio through the screen to them. And so that's the ultimate best way to do it. But when you're sharing your screen, you have to remember to make sure that box is ticked so that they are seeing and hearing everything. Now, the only other backup way to do it is if you have the videos like on your website, or if you have them on YouTube, you can go to the chat and you can send them a link to it and say, hey, go ahead and click that link and I want you to watch this video. But I find that's pretty awkward because like they're sitting there watching a video and you're sitting there watching them, but you're not both watching it together. And they're going to have to tell you when they're done watching it because you're not going to know. And so that's not really a good way to do it. The best way is just for you to have the video up, share your screen with your audio, play it from your end, and then pivot right back into your sales process.
And I guess the other way, Dave, which is the way you used to do it, is you actually just held the phone like right up to the speaker,
Yeah.
right?
So before some of these technologies started putting this audio share through, I used to play it and I used to take my phone and hold it up to the computer speaker so the audio played through the computer speaker. But that's dating my virtual meetings now. So the technology has gotten better than it was 2-3 years ago.
But not everybody's Dave. So worst case scenario, you could do that, right? You can play it and then hold the phone up to the speaker. But there could be a little delay, and that's why doing the first way is the best way to do it. The other thing is, when we were having the $100 million club meeting, the owners of White Glove also have a very big financial services practice, Dean Thurman. And we were in that meeting. There's about, I think, 14 offices now that are in the $100 million club. So those are offices that are either bringing in $100 million a year in new assets or aspire to in the next handful of years, and have the staff and the resources and capabilities to be able to get there. And so anyways, we were on that meeting. We meet every 2 weeks. And one of the things we were talking about is just the importance of, when you're doing these meetings right now in this virtual environment, you have to give away more than you have in the past. And when I say give away, I mean a consultative sales approach where you're actually giving away some value right up front, right? Even in that fit call, in that first appointment, you need to be providing some value to them. And because you're going to get them hooked, right, on wanting to continue on with you. And so it reminded me, right, I kind of went back in time and remembered when I was first building the bucket plan, financial planning process. And one of the books that inspired me to build it the way it is, very consultative, a lot of questions, a lot of, them doing most of the talking because of all the questions you're asking, and then you're feeding back them the answers packaged in the 3-bucket approach, was Patrick Lencioni's book, Getting Naked. And so Getting Naked was one of the biggest inspirations for me. I mean, I love getting naked, but anyways, that book specifically was a big inspiration of taking a more consultative approach. And so I would encourage anybody who hasn't read that book, that's gonna supercharge your ability to be able to be a better advisor, right? And we need to be the best we can be right now in a virtual environment.
Yeah, so we have a couple questions and comments that came in, Jason. Fatty made a great point, is that when you check the option to share your audio on the screen share, make sure all your other notifications are turned off. And I shared that in some of the best practices, like close down all your other stuff. Like I've had the mistake of like having Facebook notifications on my desktop, and I'll be in the middle of a virtual meeting and a friend will send me like an inappropriate Facebook message that pops up across my screen, right? And like it's usually Jason, but it's to have make sure all that stuff is turned off, because what you can see on your screen, they can see also. So that's a great point. Josh Anderson said, what's the book again? The book is called Getting Naked by Patrick Lencioni. So fantastic book. And then Mary sent one that said, Dave, have you had an occasion to go through the whole virtual appointment process, gotten to the delivery and had them balk about moving assets? Have you ever heard, oh, I wasn't thinking of moving all my accounts around? So essentially the question is, do you get to the plan delivery and then they balk at moving assets? I mean,
I can answer that one, Dave, because one of the reasons I started incentivizing people by discounting the planning fee by 50% and letting them know up front, it wasn't just to incentivize them to become a wealth management client. It was also because, Mary, I had that exact same thing happen. When they got to the end, they were like thrown off. They're like, well, I thought we were just paying you from financial planning. And this is before I started letting them know up front that I discount the fee by 50% if they move their assets and become a wealth management client. And I felt like it added a layer of transparency that my ultimate goal is to make you a wealth management client. So I did have that happen.
Yeah. And I would say I don't, because I've learned from all Jason's mistakes. I am crystal clear in my first meetings and on my right fit call. We do financial planning and wealth management, but our ideal clients are the ones who hire us for wealth management. That's who we serve the best, and we can deliver the most proactive, ongoing active management and advice to. And I can think in the last 12 months, I've only had 2 people go through the process, and they've paid me the second half of the planning fee. They didn't move assets. Everyone else has. Now you might have depending on what your percentage is, but it's probably, I don't know, Jason, you're much higher volume than I am. Would you say 70% move, 60%, 80%? Where, if you had to guess at the jail?
Yeah, I would say it's closer to 80%. Yeah. It's definitely, and 70 to 80, probably 80. Yeah.
And Joe asked a question, what do you charge for your second year fee? So what I do is, we quote the upfront planning fee, half due upfront, half due upon delivery. If they don't move forward and they pay us the second half of the fee, but they want ongoing service, it's $300 an hour. And I've actually had, of the 2 people that didn't move forward, one of them is paying me $300 an hour. He just paid me $1,200 to do 4 hours of tax harvesting work for him. And so that's essentially what we do for the ongoing portion. And we
And
teach
you
all
know,
of that
Dave,
in
we're
Bucket
doing the
Plan 2.
same thing.
Yep.
We're
We
all
teach
running
all
it
of
the
that in
same
Bucket
way.
Plan
Yeah,
2.0. Yeah, it's all Bucket Plan
exactly.
2.0. So,
Mhm.
all right, cool. They said thanks and
You know
thanks.
what?
So Jason, what else do we got?
One other quick piece I want to throw in here before I think next maybe we'll bring Rob on to give a marketing update and then bring Don on to piggyback off the marketing theme. But you know, this morning I got up really early and my wheels were just turning. I called you first thing in the morning, Dave, after I had already gotten 2.5 hours of like thinking and planning and kind of journaling and just figuring stuff out. And I remembered a video I saw on, Simon Sinek video, and I started looking for it on YouTube and I found it. And he said something in this video that really, struck me, at the very end of the video. And it was, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And, it gets me excited because like top 5 roundtable, we have John Del Greco on making the connection and, really powerful stuff. I was just reviewing with John, and we have another one of my friends from Top of the Table MDRT. This is an advisor that has a $3.5 billion of full fee assets under management in his individual financial services practice. And he's going to share kind of the idea of how to become more referable. And, so just some of these things about, that all kind of interconnect and all tie together. And one of the things I've always taught Brian Bivo through the years, and he does an unbelievable job at it, probably honestly better than I even do or did, is, I've always been very vocal about how important it is to be passionate about what you do and why you do it. Like holistic planning, I'm very passionate about, the middle class and middle class millionaires. They don't get this, right? They get advisors working in silos. They're not pulling it all together like the ultra high net worth have gotten for many years. And I'm passionate about bringing that to my local community. And I always told every client that upon that first appointment, that engagement. And Brian does an amazing job with that. And that's what it reminded me of is, hearing like one of the things he says is, I want to hear what's in your mind and what's in your heart and what's most important to you. And, he talks about why he does what he does, very similar to what I've always done. And I just want to kind of share that with you guys is you need to bring that personal passion of why you do what you do. They need to see it in your eyes. They need to feel it in your voice because it's going to come across that you really care, and you're doing this for a reason, right? Not just to make money.
Yeah, that's great. So Jason, before we get into marketing, I want to do 2 things. Mike Mackey asked a quick question. He said, are you setting minimums for what they move over? And is it an all or nothing, or do you allow them to move a portion? So I think that's kind of 2 separate questions. I think you'll find different responses maybe between Jason's business and mine. I don't require them to move everything over, but I don't allow them to have 2 advisors. So I tell people I'm not in a position where in my career where I'm a babysitter, where I have to supervise and look over the work of another advisor. So if they want to hire me, if they want 2 advisors, I pass on that. But I don't require them to move over everything. Some of my biggest clients, that I have a client right now at Google in a startup that's got $6-7 million. They started with $500,000 with me. Now I have almost 2 million with them. Right. And sometimes you need to build those relationships, but I'm not going to go and have to look after another advisor's work and coordinate that. But some people do, and there's nothing wrong with that. So what do you guys do at the JL Smith Group, Jason?
Very similar, Dave. We'll allow people to have outside accounts that they're managing or, for whatever reason at this point doesn't make sense to move with us, but not with another advisor. So that's how we address that up front is like you hire us to take over your wealth management we're going to look after everything, and we let them know that up front.
Cool. Well, Jason, I
Yeah.
want to launch one more poll as we transition into marketing here. So the poll is, how confident are you in conducting marketing in a virtual environment? So again, exit out of your full screen if you're in it. And we've got the poll in progress. Not at all, and you're not going to do it at all. You're just going to wait this thing out and see what happens. I'm not confident, but I'll get there. I'm in the process of doing it, or I've already done it. Where are you at? We've got about 40% voted. The numbers are rolling in about 55%. Be curious to see as we transition into the marketing conversation. So far, nobody is not going to do it at all. That's interesting to hear. A lot of proactive entrepreneurs on this.
That's fantastic. This is a new normal, so nobody should be checking that box. I was hoping, so that's good.
That's right. So we've got about 65%. So 35% are not going to participate. But Jason, we have about 35% of the audience are already doing it, which is awesome. They've gone full circle. I know both Jason and I have as well. 46% are in the process. 20% just aren't confident. So hopefully we can keep working with that 20% that aren't confident. We have about 70% of the votes in, 47% are in the process, 33% have already done it. So Jason, why don't we have Rob come on? Let me close out this poll here. And you want to share some quick marketing updates?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hey guys.
Great.
Thanks for having me back.
Hey, Rob.
If you don't recognize me, I was actually mercifully able to get into a barber, get my hair cut, and shave the ridiculous quarantine beard. So feeling clean, feeling back to normal. So Jason and Dave, they are open. I mean, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, you might want to go visit yours.
I'm not there yet.
Not there yet. So as I've said before on our previous meetings, we really shot out of the gate very quickly. So we did 11 webinars since April 16th, right? Learned a lot of lessons along the way, had some success, some failures. So what we did this week is we kind of pumped the brakes. We didn't have a webinar scheduled this week. So a lot of that was just to kind of catch up and let our kind of capacity catch up. And also, let's face it, Brian is doing all the webinars for us. He does an outstanding job. I'm sure a lot of the viewers have seen him do it in the way he does it. It's fantastic. And he's actually, for him, really well-deserved couple of days off at the end of this week. So we felt like this was a really good week to just kind of press pause on webinars. But I wanted to provide you with some of the updated numbers that we do have. It's not a whole lot changed from last week. So again, we've done 11 webinars. We're averaging about 33 registrants per webinar, 23 attendees per webinar. So that's about a 67% attendee per registrant rate, which I feel pretty good about. But as I indicated last week, and I'd love to hear feedback from everybody else as well. Our fit call per attendee rate is at about 19%. It feels low to me. I'd like that to get higher, but I'd love to see what everybody else is experiencing. Just to kind of share best practices, share results, and see really what that number should be. But again, we're at about 19%. I'd like for that to be a little bit higher as well. But the good news is that our discovery, our first step discovery appointments continue to rise. We're at 20 now, so we're feeling pretty good about that. We're really settling into our process as well. I know I've mentioned before that we've got a full-time prospector on right now. He's really doing a great job on the phones for us. We're going to start incorporating him into the webinar process, introducing Brian at the beginning, kind of wrapping it up, letting them know that he'll be reaching out to them as part of this 2-part webinar series. And really looking forward to kicking that off as well. So that's kind of where we stand right now from the marketing perspective. We've learned a lot. We feel really good about where we're at, where we're going. Dave, you've been a huge resource for us as well. So thank you for all your help as well.
So question, Rob, came in for you, and I just want to add a piece of feedback too. I'll get to the question in a second, but you know, from doing digital marketing for a long time, like we all want that instant gratification, right? Like get done with a webinar, book an appointment, close business. Sometimes in the digital world, that doesn't happen. The most important thing you could have is the ability to nurture those leads. So like I use MailChimp. They all go into MailChimp. I try to produce a written blog twice a month out to those clients and prospects. I re-invite them to the future webinars we're doing, and you'll see that continue to build. We just had a prospect that attended a webinar we did a year ago. Actually, it was something randomly called like 7 critical actions you should take when you have a new child. She did the webinar. She actually did a fit call like 8 months ago. We kept her on our drip marketing in our webinar. She just attended our latest tax planning webinar. She reached out to Alana to book a first appointment and move through the process. And a year ago, I quoted her a $2,995 planning fee that her and her husband are agreeing to go through right now. Right. So what you are building an empire right now with all these people. So don't even just get frustrated if your fit call attendance is on the lower end, because if you are nurturing it the right way, you're building an empire. So
Rob, yeah, that's awesome, Dave. And Rob, real quickly before you go, so, you know, first of all, just to recap, think about this, right? Going back to the 421, because webinar, right, doing virtual seminars, we like to call them that instead of webinars, right? Because I don't know, some people, you know, have never done a webinar before, and like older demographic don't understand that, but like they've been to seminars, everybody's been to seminars, and these are just virtual, right? It's just like every word makes a little difference, right? So these virtual seminars, think about the 421, if and how it ties to that 20% conversion ratio you talked about, Rob. Like if we get 20 people on a webinar, 19, or let's round it to 20% of that is 4 people. That fills our 421. 4 fit calls equals 2 first appointments equals 1 committed client. Yep. So now it becomes a numbers game. You just got to drive more and more people attending your virtual seminars to fill your 421. 4 phone calls equals 2 first appointments equals 1 committed client. 421. But Rob, share real quickly what happened with Brian with the golf course, resulting in a $2.8 million or $2.6 million client.
Yeah. It was a referral. So yeah, he just had a meeting on a golf course with clients who was on the taxes and retirement webinar, obviously where we used Dave's template and quoted the $995 planning fee. He quoted it to a friend of his. They they called us, showed up with the $995 planning fee day up, and they've got $3 million in assets. So
I get to be the fine.
That was a big win. We're giving you all the credit.
So listen how powerful that is, though, right? Yeah. Brian wasn't on the golf course, to be clear. This was somebody who was on the taxes and retirement webinar, did the whole stacking system where it was $7,000 of value for $995. He was so excited about it. The guy who also, became a client, told his buddy on the golf course. His buddy on the golf course calls, says, "Can I get it for $995?" Yeah. He wasn't even on the seminar or virtual seminar, and so he calls, and now he's in the process. And that's freaking unbelievable.
That was awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a big win. That was
so
fun.
Rob, a question came in from Fatty. Between White Glove and AFIA, where are you seeing better results, or neither of those, or all of them, or like where are the results coming from right now?
Yeah, I mean, ours were a little skewed. White Glove was our first one right out of the gate, right? And we didn't really.
And we were horrible.
We weren't fully prepared to kind of take advantage of the opportunity. So that's on us, right? AFIA, we got a lot less numbers from them, but subsequent discussions I've had with them, they've changed their digital marketing company, but they're learning too. So we didn't, the number of registrants and the attendees weren't really wanted it, and it wasn't a lot of unique people as well. We did 3 over 1 week with them, and there was a lot of the same people attending them as well. So I would say between the two, probably white glove, but I mean, it was a month ago and might as well be 2 years ago, for not only for us, but for them as well. Everybody is learning, this new world. So to be fair, I know both of them have kind of made some changes as well. But I would say white glove, the customer service and the concierge service we received from them was really fantastic. They did a great job of kind of walking you through the process. So.
All right. Well, Jason.
Thank you, Rob. We're going to pivot to Don, right? Let's get our boy Don on here. Thanks, Rob.
Yeah, Don, I'm going to turn over controls to you here, bring you in, and give me 1 second. All right, go ahead and accept, Don, and you should be live. You can share your camera with us and pop on in.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Great. Good to see you guys. Yeah,
Great to see you.
David
Don,
arranged.
Don, I have to do a quick intro. You joked with getting ready for your webinar today, and we were doing some prep work, and you said, Dave, when we started C2P, I didn't know how to text message, and now I'm running virtual seminars all by myself out of my house. He was like, even switching web browsers.
Literally, dude, you got to understand, my screen today went like 5 times large, so I couldn't really see what was going on. And I knew what to do to get it back in place. I had to go offline and get back on and log back in, but it literally took me about 30 seconds. I just said, there's a technical glitch. I'll be right back. And I got right back on. So it's I mean, this stuff is so simple. It's like an iPhone. These are designed, the virtual world is designed for us to be able to figure it out. All we baby boomers that don't want to do it. So I've learned 5 different platforms. Okay, Zoom, Webinar Jam, Big Marker, Click Meetings, and there's a new one I'm using tomorrow called Dilio. Okay, so it's not that tough. You don't need to fear this stuff, and it's fun. Okay, it's been a ton of fun for me to do this. I literally, when this started to happen, you kind of panic because we had 56 classes set up between January and June this year at libraries primarily for AFIA, because I have, beside myself, I have 3 other advisors that are getting leads from those. So our whole marketing structure had to change immediately. And I went into trying AFIA and a couple other companies. Those didn't really pan out as much. But what Dave just did for me today, we ended up having 40 people. I think it was more than 40, Dave, but we had 29 that showed up on the call.
We spent, you don't even know how much money I spent.
I have no idea how much you spent.
Don just said, fill me a workshop. So we did a Facebook campaign. We got 40 people to register from Facebook, spent $1,000. So right around $24, $25 a participant. And how many showed up, Don?
29 I saw on the webinar at one point. And we give an offer that we're giving a discounted fee-based plan, and we go through very quickly all the different things. There's like about 6 or 7 different things we're going to do for them in the plan for $9.95. We got 1 person to commit to that, but we also say we're going to give away the book, the bucket plan book, and we got 12 people to commit to that. Now, what I've seen from these virtual classes, because we've done 10 of them so far, is a lot of times the people don't get the technology of going onto your calendar and scheduling the Calendly. Or they might see, I got to put in my name and address. I don't necessarily want to do that. So we have our team following up with them tomorrow. And she'll probably schedule another, with those numbers, maybe another 4 to 5 people to do the 20-minute calls, the fit call. Now, I got to tell you about the fit calls, because when I first learned about these, before we went to the virtual environment last year, I said, no, I'm never doing that. I don't want to do that. But in studying this type of thing, what I found was that you have to really do that. You have to, because they're not going to just automatically go to a virtual meeting with you. That's what you want, is a virtual step one meeting. And it's the 20-minute calls are fun. It's like you have more of a relationship with the people. You're talking to them like they're friends. It's not considered a business environment. I think you build the whole relationship better. You can't hug them with your eyes over the phone, but that's kind of what the feeling that you get out of it. So I was excited today. I actually got to do this because I love Dave's tax seminar that he does. So I actually, for the first time in probably 3 weeks, I'm wearing real shoes. Okay, I actually put on big boy pants. I don't have shorts on today. Can't see, below the waist on these things. I've been real relaxed in the past, wearing sandals and shorts. But I felt like I'm going to get serious. This is a real deal today. So oh, by the way, I have a story about what I'm drinking today. So it's Canadian Club, and I grew up in Detroit, and I lived on the east side, and we would take a boat down the Detroit River to go to, they call it the downriver area in Detroit, that was south of us on the Detroit River. And we would pass by the Hiram Walker Distillery, and it always say home of Canadian Club. So that's what I'm drinking today. And I get kind of the special one that is the 12-year aged one. That's kind of my favorite deal. And I know Greg Hammer loves that too. So, but anyway, I think we have to really look at this as an opportunity. That's what I've said. I've wanted to get into digital marketing, but no one knew what they were doing. But there's people that are out there saying they'll do it for us, that they're mail companies, and they're trying to replace their business. There's others that we found, like Dave, and what he's doing, that's doing phenomenal for us. And then there's another group I'm working with tomorrow, and I have 154 people that have registered for an estate planning class, and we're using the new estate planning PowerPoint that C2P has developed. And we're gonna, we're going through different stages of development with this. So tomorrow's like the 2.0. Then I'm going to give it to Dave, and he's going to develop the 3.0 based on the tax class that we just did today.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about it because I think we're going to have 2 different marketing sources when this all ends. We'll still do the live events, and that develops, a good camaraderie there. But we'll also do virtual. What I found in doing these kind of classes and dinner seminars, I've been doing them since 2002, is only about 30% of the people will even go to a live event. So you have to think about that, guys. We're going to get more people that won't ever go to a live event, that are used to using Zoom or different webinar functions, and we're going to be able to market to more different types of people. So that's what excites me about it, and different topics. I mean, we're really developing this stuff. C2P and Jason Ferticchi's been pushing this, and I think it's going to be great for all of us. I'm really excited about the future. It's kind of been forced on us, right?
It's exciting. It's all new capabilities that are going to carry over into, regardless if we go back to, or when we go back to the old normal. This new normal is new opportunities and new capabilities to continue to grow our business and do business all around the country with friends and loved ones of our clients that maybe we weren't as equipped as we needed to be able to do that. Hey, real quick too, on the comment about the estate planning webinar, we're using Russell Brunson's perfect webinar format. So if anybody wants to check that out online, Dave found this thing, and it's a magic formula, man. It's freaking unbelievable. And so anybody wants to check that out, that's kind of the methodology that we're using to build these presentations. Taxes and retirement's done. The estate planning one is done. You got it. We got it probably 80% there. After you present it tonight, we'll do some final tweaks, or Dave will.
We got there's a little more work to go, but it'll be fine. Yeah.
But yeah, Dave will get it there after you. You're the crash. You're the crash dummy on the estate planning one, and then we're working on the Social Security one as well. So we'll have all three of those in that format. That's super powerful. Yeah.
Awesome. So we got a couple questions. The most important one from Carol Wardoceo is, tell Don Canadian Club is Steve's Christmas drink. It's not Christmas until he has his first CC in 7. So
Great.
So
Nice.
Steven said, Dave, I attended your webinar jam event. You charge $2,000 as the planning fee. Don, you charge $995. What's the difference? Really demographic. California, everything's double the cost.
Yeah, we talked about that beforehand of what to charge. I think that they charge $995 and some of the ones they did in Cleveland too, at Jason's office.
Yep.
And I just went with that. I thought it was a better price point for entry. But yeah, if you're trying to do that in California or New York, they're going to maybe think you don't have a value because you're not charging as much. So
I always joke.
And honestly, that could have happened with us because. Yeah.
I was going to say, I always joke and say, you know how I'm a smart financial advisor. I'd bring clients on in California where I could charge them double, and I live in Cleveland where it only cost me 25%.
Right.
Dude. That's not a joke. I'm kind of mad and jealous.
It's also
all right.
be more selective too. Like if you're really trying to get as many potential in there, you'll charge lower. But if you're being selective and trying to get larger accounts, you could charge a higher amount.
I mean, to be honest, that's it, Don, to a T. I could have charged $995 and I would have got a lot more potential people from it, but I was just trying to, I was doing it to test it for C2P and for everyone here, and I was cherry picking based on my minimums. But I would highly recommend, if you're in the volume game and you're like Don or Jason, where you have associate advisors, you have the ability to feed, the lower price point could be more beneficial because you'll get more business in the door.
Right.
So I know we're over, Dave, but I know we're getting some questions about where to get stuff, etc. How about me learning how to find stuff on the technology, Dave? You didn't think I could see the questions. But let's contact your business development partner. Contact somebody at C2P. We're there every step of the way. This is the thing, guys. Like, we are going to hold your hand every step of the way. We're there for you 100% to guide you through doing marketing in a virtual environment, doing sales in a virtual environment, everything you need, everything we talk about, we have it, and we're going to help you. So.
If we don't have it quite ready yet, we're building it. If we don't have it quite ready yet, we're building it.
That's right. And somebody will hold your hand and walk you through until we get the e-learning module and whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Awesome.
Awesome. Have a great evening, everybody.
Great whiskey, Thanks, guys.